also move on beyond just quantitative and categorical variables. There's other special data types that require particular kinds of data visualization. The two that I think about the most are time data, so things like data over the course of days or hours or weeks or years, and geographic data, so data about countries or states or counties. That also requires special ways to visualize it. So we often make maps. So as an example, if you have data over the course of time, you have to think about how you're going to encode that into your data visualization. One approach that I really love is from Hans Rossling. He has this video, 200 countries, 200 years, 4 minutes. And he talks about the health and wealth of countries over time. And the way that the time is encoded is as an animation. So you see the scatter plot and then it's animated through the years. And then he talks about the whole thing and splits things apart and just has a great narrative. I really recommend watching the video, which I have on the playlist for this week. Another really famous time series graph is this graph about the temperature anomalies of the Earth's temperature. And this is known as the hockey stick graph because it has this kind of characteristic hockey stick shape. In fact, it has its own Wikipedia page. But this is, again, showing data over time. Here's another approach to visualizing time. This is called a stream graph, and it is showing the proportion of countries that have won medals in the Olympics over time. And it's sort of like a histogram or a density plot, but it's showing the density over time. On the side of geographic data visualizations, you might make a heat map, which would be something like this, where areas are shaded according to some variable. And in this case, we have where you throw your trash. Do you call it a garbage can or a trash can? This is from Josh Katz's work. He has a book called Speaking American, and you could go take the quiz that will tell you exactly where he believes you grew up based on the dialect that you speak. I linked to that on Canvas. Here's another visualization from that book. This is a visualization of soda, pop, and Coke. In Minnesota, we're solidly in pop territory, although we're close to the border with Wisconsin, where soda reigns supreme. And this is called a heat map because the visualization can ease from one color to the next. So there are regions where there's not one of these terms that is more popular. People use them all. Another type of visualization for geographic data is called a Choropleth map. And in a Choropleth map, there are shapes, in this case, the states, and the states are filled in according to the value of some variable. So in this case, they're filled in according to the electoral votes for the 2020 presidential election. And you can see some of the areas are blue if their electoral votes went to Biden, and some of them are red if their electoral votes went to Donald Trump. And one thing that's interesting about maps as a data visualization type is that maps kind of look like the world. So if you were to get in an airplane or in a spaceship and get up above the United States, you would see something that looked sort of like this as you looked down. And so this can make maps feel more true than other types of data visualizations because they look like the thing that they are representing. But you have to remember that they aren't always completely corresponding to the variable or the data that is trying to be shown. So in this case, electoral votes are not distributed according to the area of a state, but rather according to the population of the state and other political things. So this map, a lot of the area appears red, but actually the majority of the electoral votes went to Biden. And that's because there are more votes in some of these small states out on the East Coast. And so those added up to be more than 270.